You want to try that?
If you mute your computer, I can mute.
Okay.
Hello, friends and family. My name is Neeraj. This is Raj. Today, we're excited to show you Salesboom.AI. What we've done is we've created a sales tool using AI for salespeople and for startup founders. Salespeople today most commonly reach out to prospective customers using email. In fact, currently, emails today are deemed as the most effective marketing channel today. However, there's a major issue with this. Those emails need to be personalized in order to have high conversion rates. In fact, there's a major challenge specifically that sellers are experiencing today. When a seller is conducting email outreach, they're either sending the same email to hundreds of people at a time, or they're spending countless hours customizing those emails one by one. So Salesboom.AI, which is what we've created, is a generative AI tool designed to help salespeople create personalized emails quickly and at scale. Our solution streamlines the email creation process to be able to send personalized emails and allow sellers to do what they best do, which is to actually sell. We're excited to show you what we built.
Thanks, Neeraj. So let me give you a demo of Salesboom. So if you go to the website Salesboom.ai, we have two major pieces of information that you'll be giving Salesboom. The first is information about you and about like our company, what company you work for. The second is information about the customer that you're targeting. In order to most easily integrate into the existing workflow of salespeople, we created a Chrome extension. So this is a customer relations manager, CRM, which salespeople often use to collect information about their prospective contacts. So let's say I'm trying to sell to my co-founder, Neeraj, who I met today at Paxo, and I have his information in my CRM. Then I can just pop open Salesboom, put in the information about me, about what product I'm trying to sell Neeraj, and then about Neeraj. So he has some role, what company he works for, and then I can super easily just generate this email draft. So this streamlines the personalization process, because previously, in order to sell personalized to Neeraj, I would have to look up his LinkedIn profile, do research on outside sources, and then think up like, how does my product apply to Neeraj? How could it be useful for him? And then I'm typing it all up. That takes a long time. Salesboom makes it super easy. We have an email client integration, so then I can just pop open the Gmail here. If I need to make any edits, I can review this. Let's say I don't like the wording of this. Instead, I want to change it to like, cheers. And then, boom, I can just send it, and there we go. It's done. So this makes it super easy to send hundreds of emails to your personalized contacts. So thanks so much. Right now, we just launched literally on Thursday for our public beta. So we're looking for like introductions to any like salespeople or startup founders who spend a lot of their time doing this on outreach. So if you have anybody, we'd really, really love to meet them. We'd be happy to chat afterwards. So thanks so much.
Thank you.
We have time for 2 questions. So one from the judges first.
In the product demo, you were showcasing that you would enter in the personalization with regards to like friends and family, whatever it might be. Is that standardized, or is that something that, you know, a placeholder, but if you didn't have that, you could essentially scrape LinkedIn or outside sources? And if that's a functionality, what do you guys plan on?
Yeah. So the functionality is that given the URL that's like standard from the CRM, we go scrape data about the company to understand what it's doing. The idea of the personalization box is exactly for that, like information that you can't publicly find online. Like, I met you at FAF on Tuesday, or, you know, I noticed you also raised your Series A, like, congrats on that. Like, things like this are what the personalization box is meant for. If you leave it blank, we'll just go scrape data about the company and use that to personalize. Yeah.
And one question from the general audience. How much does it cost?
So we're currently doing a free public beta. The strategy here is to get as much user data as possible, and we're getting a ton of feedback. So as we do feedback, we're currently iterating. For example, scalability is something that we're excited to be working on next, but eventually we'll be having a go-to-market in the next few months.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Next up is Ryan. Also, that was like perfectly 3 minutes, so that's what just told me.
Hey everyone, I'm Ryan, a senior studying CS. So I was studying abroad last quarter in Oxford and doing tutorial and reinforcement learning. There was this really cool paper that came out. Maybe some of you read it. It's called Cicero. Essentially, these authors, they managed to make a model called Cicero play this game Diplomacy. And Diplomacy is a really cool game. You have to negotiate between players, manage deals. And these authors, they had managed to make a model that more than doubled the average human score. So did really well in this game. So I was really interested in the paper. I reached out to the first author and just had a conversation with him about his research experience. And he was talking about how they had to have a researcher sit by a computer and manually enter all the model's outputs into diplomacy.net, this like game playing website. And once in a while, they had to do reCAPTCHAs just to confirm that they were human. So essentially, this was a huge bottleneck for their ability to evaluate their model on human data. But that was pretty crazy. They were just spending their meta money on like hiring this research to do this. And I felt like this is just a natural connection that we need to make between people who are playing games and enjoy casual gameplay and model developers who are really interested in, RLHF, being able to evaluate their models on human benchmarks. So essentially this quarter, I've been working on this platform Playground, which does just that. There are 2 front-end interfaces. One of them is this game playing website where we have Snake, tic-tac-toe, chess, Catan, and poker. And then we also have a very easy to use Python library, which you can install and use to get training data and then submit your model for evaluation. So I'm just going to do a quick demo of those things. So this is the website. You can, of course, play Snake like you normally would. We can also, let's see, maybe I'll just can make a file like this. So in 65 lines, you don't have to re-implement Snake or do anything like that. You just import our library. You specify the game you want to play, the name of your model, your email and API key, the number of games you want to play. And then you write this one function called callback, which takes the state and reward and then returns back the action you'd like to submit. Then you can run it. And basically what it's doing is ping-ponging back and forth with our server and saying like, here's the state of the world, here's the action I'd like to take, and then updating and iterating. We actually just built this really cool feature, which I'm proud of. Essentially, if that's not good enough, you can also actually watch the model as it's interacting with the world. This is a deterministic model, so it will eventually get all the apples and beat the game. But if it was doing something wrong, if it was consistently exhibiting a poor strategy, you could become aware of it through this visualization and improve. How am I doing on time?
You're at 3 minutes.
Okay, I can demo other games if people are interested, but this is what we're working on. Yeah, any questions?
If in retrospect, so this came from the fact that the meta team needed to manually input into a pre-existing online game like Diplomacy. How exactly would you go about like deploying this in production with games that they might want to train on agents?
Right. I think there's a lot of avenues we can take this towards. I'm really interested in extending this for industry settings. So potentially if you're a robotics company and you're looking for human training data, we can build a simulation type game in which humans interacting with the game will produce labeled data. And we can also host competitions where developers submit models and try and beat this, surpass human performance. So I think that's likely where I'll take the platform. But I'm also looking into open source. So this idea that we can open source this entire process of environment and game production, as well as model submission.
Yeah, I think we don't have time for more questions. So it's going to move on to. Next up is Miles and Rhythm.
Hi, everyone. I'm Miles, that's Rhythm. At the last FAF demo day, I showed you all a human rights investigation platform, and now it's time for a very different kind of project. All right, let's do it. Cool. Hey, yeah, so my name is Rhythm. I think we'll start off with a really quick question here. How many of y'all have done a user interview before? Just to the show of hands. Okay, it's pretty good. Yeah. So we've been doing a ton of these, and taking notes during user interviews is super annoying. There are tools for taking notes during video calls, but a lot of these don't mix well with in-person conversations. So that's why we decided to build Paxo. Paxo is really just a fun hack that we've worked on. Just a nice arbitrage, GPT arbitrage, you know, as you all know. So yeah, with that, let's get started. So this is Paxo. We went for the nice Apple Notes aesthetic. Zoom is not liking this. You click record. Ooh, that is low FPS. You get notes back. You get notes back. You get a transcript. Yeah, it's just not. Okay, it's just not enjoying it. You get notes back. You can. It'll automatically recognize speakers. You can do it. Sure. Yeah. It'll automatically recognize speakers. Then you can choose them from your contacts. Yeah, this was supposed to be like a nice 60 FPS video. It's not turning out that way. You assign speakers from your contacts. It remembers their voices so that when you have a conversation next, it'll just auto-assign. The transcript's totally interactive, so you can like jump through the recording by tapping on the transcript. You get notes, you can edit them, export them into Notion. You can probably imagine how we get those notes under the hood. Search everything. It's a pretty simple iOS app, but it's essentially just like Otter, except on your phone, half the price, and we think twice as good. And that's Paxo. Yeah. So, so I think it's been like really fun to build this. And quick flag, we care a lot about privacy, if you know us. And Paxo is super, privacy front and center. So all of the recordings, the transcript, the notes, all persist on the client side. None of that persists on our server, so we don't have access to any of that. At the end of the day, we built this for ourselves, but we want a little bit of a nice ARR, so we launched it on the App Store. You guys can download it today. As Miles said, I think we priced it very aggressively so that it's accessible compared to Otter, and we think it's much better. So if you could give it a try and maybe even give us an upvote on Product Hunt, which is right there, that would be awesome. Thank you. Yes. Which model? So there's a couple models under the hood. So for transcription, we use Whisper, and we use Whisper Base, which I think has 97.5% accuracy relative to human performance. And we don't have a good way of assessing quality for the transcripts, but anecdotally, it's very good. But the transcription model that we're using under the hood is the state of the art from OpenAI. The only part of this that sort of is really technically challenging was the speaker identification and actually remembering people's voices. We actually do that on client side. So we don't want to remember people's voices on our servers because that's sort of a privacy issue from our perspective. But yeah, almost everything else we're just using off-the-shelf models. Any other questions?
What's your personal favorite use case for?
Well, I think we sort of implied at the beginning, but Miles and I use this for all the user interviews that we do, and it's pretty accurate, I think. Like with pretty minimal editing, we're able to just export the notes that it produces to Notion and then use that and search through that. There's another use case that I use it for, which I really like, which is journaling. I just plug in my AirPods, start a recording, walk around campus, just ramble. And then I come back to my dorm and I end the recording and I get this like nice read back of everything that I talked about. It's very nice and reflective. So I think that's my favorite use case, which is not one that we advertise, but certainly one that you can use it for. I know at least one other person in the audience uses it for that purpose as well. So thank you. This is David.
No.
All right. Hello, friends and family. I want to introduce you to Pensamento Sistémico. For those of you who don't know, this is a digital garden. A digital garden is kind of like the mix between notebooks and blogs, right? The difference is pretty much that in blogs, you post something and it's there on the web forever. While digital gardens, you can change things dynamically, you can refine things, you can play around with things, you can delete notes. So I built one on systems thinking. That's the direct translation to the title, Pensamento Sistémico. And I actually wrote it entirely in Portuguese because I am Brazilian and I wanted to kind of broaden the conversation on systems thinking to Brazil and Latin America, right? Because sometimes it gets too stuck in the Silicon Valley. And here's how it works, right? You have a graph. Let me pull up my local version. You have a graph of nodes, and each node is connected to one another via hyperlinks, right? So you have, for example, this node on entropy, which is connected to information, chaos versus complexity, and the concept of systems, right? So let's see what happens when I press a node. Let's say go to self-organization, and okay, it's already translated. So when you see a note, you see the title and then a small description of what that note is about. In this case, it's just saying that this is the ability of a system to self-organize. And then you get an explanation of what this concept is all about. And this is where it contains the links to the other notes you get to see on the graph. And the cool thing is, after you read this note, it gets updated. The progress bar gets updated, telling you that you've read this note. So it's kind of like a book, right? I wanted to combine the linear experience of reading a book with the non-linear experience of browsing the web. And the cool thing is, each time you press a node, it gets centered. So the graph is highly dynamic. In fact, you can press R and the graph will kind of like change its shape. It's kind of trippy. I love that. And that's all. That's a little bit of my project. That's interesting. I created this project as a very experimental kind of like process. Like I wanted to give birth to my own interests, like in systems thinking, and I wanted to see what would come out of this. But in doing so, I found out that this idea of like a navigable graph sounded really interesting, right? I wasn't planning that. It came out sort of like naturally. And I don't think like there was an interface that combined this kind of like experience of accessing nodes in a graph, but making this the primary medium for accessing nodes. Like you guys know Obsidian, Realm Research, they all use graphs, but they don't serve a core navigational purpose. And I think there's some potential to that. Thank you.
Next is Steven.
How do you connect?
Oh, are you in the Zoom?
I'm not.
Okay, you have to join the Zoom.
Okay.
And then present there.
Wait, where's the link?
I just emailed the link.
Oh,
Yeah.
wait. Okay.
Yes, yeah, you're going to just go now. Yeah, perfect. Steven.
Yeah.
You can go now. Oh.
Is it?
Oh, okay, perfect, wonderful.
All right. Okay. So, hey everyone, I'm Steven Poole. I'm a junior. And today I'm going to share this project I've been working on. It's called Binder. So the reason I wanted to work on this was that me and a couple of my friends, we use the Devilian tools to keep track of assignments. The main reason was that a lot of classes, they don't put all their information on Canvas. And some classes, they put the website. Some classes, you only get a piece of syllabus. So I'm pretty sure you've experienced this before. So yeah, so basically this is how this tool works. As you can see, you first upload your course syllabi, and you can upload up to 8 for now, but if you take more than 8 classes a quarter, let me know. But yeah, so let's see demo. Let's do this one. Analyze the syllabus. So as you can see that, on the back end, it already started extracting all the information. And for the sake of this demo, let's just see what we have so far. So these syllabi are extracted using these 3 classes here. Some of you might already, some of you might take these classes, but the idea is that here you have, as you can see, you have the assignments already extracted. And you notice that the red, the red sign here is today, it's right now actually. And the gray sign, these things mean that the date, the assignments are already due by the time of extraction of the syllabi. And as you can see, you can click here and view more information about these assignments. And here, these are the assignments that are still coming. Yeah, so this is kind of what I have so far, but the idea is to further gamify the process of hopefully learning and planning your assignments. And if you come back here, well, it's still extracting. It usually takes like, oh, it's out. So yeah, so usually I'm using OpenAI for this, to be quite honest, and the results aren't that bad, especially after the turbo model got released last week. But hopefully we can, I can keep working on it, and by next quarter, we'll have something that's useful, yeah, for everyone. Yeah, I have actually. So wait, can you, what do you mean by schedule?
Just now, like, put together things that's gonna get right.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, well, I've thought a lot about it, but the thing is that a lot of tools already allow you to do that. And for me, it's I think this tool is supposed to be kind of like a lightweight kind of like platform for now, just because I'm the only person who's working on it right now and have to prioritize. So my goal is to extract the PDF and hopefully the website links that you have for your class and put them together on a single timeline. Yeah, so then you can see what's coming. So.
Thank you. Okay, next is Zane and Matthew.
Hi, friends and family. I'm Zane. This is Matthew, and we're excited to show you something we've been working on for the last 7 months. At the highest level, what we're doing is we're applying generative AI to blog-based social media to deliver personalized insights to help users better understand their emotional well-being. And this is a super personal problem to both of us. I grew up low income and uninsured, and I started struggling with bipolar depression when I was 16. And when we started iterating around Candid, we wanted to find a way to make journaling more accessible, engaging, and insightful to people.
Awesome. So what exactly do? We ask users to respond to daily prompts, including highs and lows, and then we use simple natural language processing techniques to help users identify thought patterns and reflect. So once users log in, they're prompted with their first type of question. This is a reflective question. So reflective questions are specifically designed to elicit thoughtful responses. They're evidence-based, and they're questions that users might normally see if they were journaling in another application or even in therapy, perhaps. And we combine this with other types of questions, such as questions from a friend. These are designed to be engaging and to increase engagement on the application. So these are sent from one friend to another. And then users can decide whether or not they want to post and share those videos. If they do post, it unlocks their feed. And if they don't, totally fine. We still store that content and run the algorithm on the back end. We also allow users to record their daily highs and lows, which is kind of more in the moment type of content. And then our insights, Zane?
So basically on the back end, we transcribe every video using Whisper. Then we run topic analysis. We run affect analysis, identifying the key emotions in the video, and we give it a sentiment score. And then we help users realize patterns by linking like similar topics together at our most MVP level. So for example, in this, she stressed about the internship at the internship search at 3 different points of the month. So we kind of like point that out to users. What we found in our user testing is that people don't want anything beyond that. They just want to see the pattern and make their own conclusions.
And then the last feature here is the aura. So this is kind of like a Spotify wrap. It's a uniquely generated color scheme that summarizes a user's emotional health for that week. And so this is one of our users' favorite features, uniquely created, and they can tap to see which videos are highly weighted in the generation of that aura. Right now we're in beta, and part of why we're here is we'd love to get more beta users. So we'd love to talk to you afterwards, but also feel free to text me. That's my number. Just shoot me like a text with your name, and we'd love to set you up on the beta.
Yeah, and to close, we'd just like to use one of our user testimonials from the last few weeks. So this is what we got the other day. The more I use Candid, the more I realize just how brilliant it is. I feel like I get to learn more things about my friends that I didn't know. Like Jaden Sloan like going to baseball. So next time I'm going to ask them to go. And it's nice to see the little things that happen in my friends' days. It's basically like all the goals of what social media is supposed to be. Connecting with you and your friends without overstimulation and editing. And all the parts that have made social media so unhealthy. Plus you have the journaling component and the reflection component. Such a nice thing to be able to look back at.
Cool. Thank you guys.
We generate the colors.
The colors?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So on the back end, we use basically a very simple word-to-vec model, and we associate colors with certain regions in that n-dimensional space.
And that's something we're still exploring.
Does this have a therapeutic aspect, or is it just like for you to socialize?
So yeah, the therapeutic aspect is like being able to recognize the patterns, being able to look back through your own personal diaries and like kind of draw your own conclusions from that. And all the questions, like the reflective questions, like Matthew mentioned, are from like therapists and psychologists that we're in contact with.
Do you plan to like make this AI therapeutic model
As of now, no, because then we have to deal with some like HIPAA regulations and whatnot. But long term, we see that as a possibility. Yeah. Cool.
Thank you. Next up is Joe.
Hey. Hey, 1 second, let me time this on. All right, sweet. I'm Joe. I'm just curious, how many people here have heard of Code in Place? Yay, oh, that's so cool. Okay, so for a quick introduction, it's like a introductory CS class for the world. We're launching super soon. But the twist compared to this, to like a traditional MOOC, is that we invite teachers to teach as well. We have section leaders that teach sections, and it improves retention rates a lot. So that's kind of what Code in Place is. The big thing that we're doing this year is that we're building out our entire kind of, we're building an entire IDE for Code in Place this year. And essentially, the reason for this is accessibility. So we want students to not have the dependency of having a VS Code or an IDE. One cool thing that we're doing too is, so we're using PyDie to kind of compile Python in the front end, but we're also building out our own kind of graphics library that allows you to kind of interact with cool like graphical elements using Python. So you can see here that you can run, and we're able to like call functions like create canvas, create image with file, and hopefully teach students kind of the opportunity to create really cool games on their browsers. So yeah, it's essentially an educational IDE. How can we create really cool learning experiences for students starting out using Code in Place? And another really cool thing that we've done is essentially built in support for Carol. So those that taken in 106A, it's basically entirely built out on the browser, which is super cool. The goal here is to be as familiar as possible from an IDE perspective, in the sense where we don't want it to be like super detached from like what VS Code looks like. It's still somewhat familiar, but it's still somewhat playful. So you do have that. It's easy to learn and easy to pick up. But a really cool thing too is like at the very top, after you run your app, you can kind of scroll through back and forth. So it's a little bit like a time machine, or like a replay mode that we call it. And you can go to like here, and it's super cool. So it kind of redraws the canvas every single time. So there's kind of two modes. You have like canvas mode and you have like Carol mode. And yeah, Also, I know there's no generative AI, which sucks, I know, but there are like really, really cool error messages that are slightly GPT. So hopefully that can kind of help students like understand and process error messages a little bit better. But yeah, I think right now we're building this for code in place, but the end game is to hopefully create like an all-purpose like educational IDE that teachers, schools, and educators like plug in their curriculum and then teach CS for the world. But yeah, thank you guys. Also, if you want to sign up for a section leader, I think applications come out this week or next week. So, yeah, exciting. Questions?
Yeah. Any question?
Tell me when you get here. This.
Yeah. Can we see a GPT? Oh. Okay. Yes, you can do that really quickly. See,
this is Fanda.
Okay.
If I, oh no.
No, this is not correct. Exactly.
Oh, do we see it? No, we can't see it. So it's slightly more simple, as opposed to like having like a really big one. Yeah. Okay. Any other questions or?
Thank you.
Thank you.
So you want it?
So I'm gonna take this off.
Thanks, Sophia.
Yes, quite good.
Recording in progress.
Get this off.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Hi all, I'm Sophia in the last demo before we got off the break. But essentially I built StudioHub, and this is just a really way to easily communicate code to a specific audience given certain parameters. So the reason I built this is if you're trying to communicate to other people what you built, what do you use? You probably show them your GitHub. This is what my GitHub looks like. It's a bunch of repositories. It can look really messy. If people see it, like, I don't know what to check out, especially non-engineers don't really know what they're looking for or how to do it. So how this works is you can take, this is like a piece of code I've written, you copy that code, you paste it in to here, and then you can define it based off summary length, your target audience. I want it to be maybe like non-technical for academic, that doesn't make sense, academic reasons. And then it generates a little snippet of code and describes what it is. So going forward, how does that look like for your GitHub? Well, now you can actually log into your GitHub and add in your account and sign in here. And this takes you to your actual GitHub account where it has all the projects in your repository. So it's like a nicer version of this. But on here, oh, I see there's like a little lag. And you can toggle projects on or off and turn them on or something like that. And then you can also redefine how you want them written. So say you want to make the summary length 50 words, you want it to be for technical people, for collaboration or group work. Maybe you're in a hackathon and you just want to quickly communicate to your peers what you're doing. Yeah, you save it and it rewrites your projects and just a nice little 50-word technical snippet. So yeah, that's StudioHub. Yeah.
It would be cool if you basically ran every single file in the code base through this, and basically have it entirely in natural language, and then you can very basically natural language text for code base. So it's a really large code.
Yeah.
Find a specific thing, like how to function or functionality.
Yeah. Great, I like that. I'll take a note. Cool.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And enjoy your 15-minute break.
Sweet.
For Zoom people, if you are on the Zoom, we will be back at around 7:15-ish.
That was great. The only thing I would say for the contrast at the top of the page. Yeah, I literally. Okay.
Go for it.
All right. Yeah, I'm Kevin. It's Julian. We, along with Sydney, who's not here today, are making Chord, which is basically we like do research for you. So like if you have like a question about any sort of complex topic, you can put it in, and then our little box will like search a bunch of websites, synthesize all the information it's gotten, and yeah, figure out the best answers for you in a detailed report. And right now, we are targeting the problem of recommendations, which I'm sure a lot of you have encountered if you ever like search like X plus Reddit. It's like all the Google results are really bad. It takes a long time to search threads. And like often these are things that rely a lot on like personal experience and anecdotes. And we think our system is really useful for this kind of stuff. And it also works really well for other sorts of like low data regimes, like kind of like recommendations for contractors, stuff that's like, what database should I use from my new application? Stuff that's like, oh, like what software should I use for my email marketing campaign for my business? And yeah, we've been working on it for the past few months. And I'll let Julian show a few demos.
Yeah, so like we said, we do research for you, okay? And so right here on the side, you can see how long it took to generate this article versus how long it might have taken you. So this is maybe 2 minutes versus, well, 2 hours. So that's a long time, right? And so we started with recommendations. Maybe you want to buy an office chair, right? You want to know the best one. But Chord is useful for all sorts of things. It can find you hiking trails. It can find you online course content, okay? So say you want to learn about reinforcement learning. Reinforcement learning is super cool. You should learn about it, okay? And so let's talk about the pain point here. So you want to find a good course. You search Google, and you just get a ton of sponsored results, right? You get stuff from pretty generic sites, and just not really the results that you want. A Medium article, things talking about reinforcement learning courses, but not the courses themselves. Okay, and so Chord, on the other hand, shows you the answer directly. OpenAI is spinning up. That's like probably one of the most trusted resources in reinforcement learning. And we can look and see direct quotes from people talking about it on the web, talking about how this course is really good. DeepMind's RL, Stanford CS234. And the nice thing about Chord is that you can trust it. And so you can click on one of these source citations right here, and it'll take you to our source list where you can go and find the supporting detail. Okay, and so Chord can also find software for you for your business, maybe. Maybe you're looking for an email marketing tool. Or one of our users is using it for their business homework, okay? And so they're finding business process modeling languages like this one, okay? And so we start with this overview of all the different things we found on the web, but then we actually go into some specific detail about these different languages and the trade-offs between them. So yeah, I'll start. And one of my favorite things about Chord is that you get to watch it live while it does research. And so it's super transparent. So I'm going to look up top competitors to Shippo, okay? And so Shippo is a company that does shipping for you. And so it loaded the pre-generated query, but I can regenerate it for you, and you can watch what it does. So comes up with a first research question and starts reading a bunch of pages on the web and taking notes. Yeah, so this is Chord. If you'd like to check it out, join 10,000 users across the globe. We have over 8,000 articles generated and 10,000 people using it. And you can use it for, yeah, all sorts of things. So.
Questions?
Show the sources from which the content was generated, if any article with citation.
Yeah, so like it has like citations like here, for example, and also like if you click these, it goes straight back to the original link. And also if you like go to our quotes, that's like just a quote, so it'll go to the original page. So yeah, we can use it for like anything, any kind of report if you're writing something. It's kind of also good because like ChatGPT kind of makes stuff up. This thing, if it makes stuff up, you can like tell. So like the citation was wrong.
And we can see it's finishing up a report on Shippo competitors right here.
Do you do any sort of mathematical analysis at some of the results, or do you just like figure out find problems?
We have like a basic ranking system. It's like a little percentage of mentions thing. Or just counts like that's like pretty basic nerd, like how many times does this answer show up in the results? But overall,
it's just like that plus combination, like what does the model think is the best one based on all the synthesized notes.
It's still relied on Google search, right? Or you just filter out the result.
Yeah, filter, summary, and like a little bit of like ranking that we do.
Awesome. Thank you.
Next is Daniel and Yacht.
Hi guys, I'm Daniel, I'm a sophomore here.
Yash, also a sophomore.
Today we'll be sharing with you guys our project called Pluto. Pluto started at Triax a couple weeks ago, and we've been hacking it since. But the original inspiration came from a tool we actually built internally for a project we were working on over the summer. And that was to help us find outbound sales leads. We're going to demo it really quickly, but essentially you can think of Pluto as Google Analytics, but instead of for site visitors, you can get it for existing users. So what we do is, given a list of your users, we scour the web to grab as much information as we can about them and the companies we work at. So we download sites, profiles, and we create this massive corpus of unstructured text and image data about your users that we allow you to query. So you're also going to be showing really quickly how this actually works.
Yeah, so I just uploaded like a quick dummy data set with a few users and some emails. And the idea is exactly what Daniel said, is like, we have a bunch of unstructured data. We want to get some structured data out of it. So for example, one thing, say we want to know is like, which of these users are students? So I can come here, add a field called is student, and then say, is this person currently student? And then specify some options. So like yes or no, add that field. It'll think for a little bit. And then should come back correctly.
And so like an example like this, for instance, I have a friend, he has a tech startup, and he looks like what percentage of users are students, and he's trying to get fidelity of that information. But like currently you just have a bunch of emails and names, so he doesn't really know who his users are, and he's trying to figure out, who's my archetypal user. So it'd be kind of a use case of a field like that.
Yeah, so basically I added that field if it's a student, and then also another one is like, oh, has this person done AI research before? So you can see we have like a few sample users. One of them is Daniel, the other is me, also Varun, and then Christopher Mims, who's like a Wall Street Journal reporter. So we added these fields, these custom fields, and we can also query them. So I can, I could ask the data set like which people are students, and then it should come back with like us three who are students. And you could also do compound queries.
And so this is important for us because people using this tool are non-technical. They're going to try to understand the users. And so we wanted a way to use natural language to query and we can sort through this information.
Yeah, so that's basically like the MVP. Obviously, going to build this out a lot more, integrate with more data sources. And then the cool thing that we think we can do is actually have you link your database to this platform so that we can combine like real world data points with actual data that people are producing on your platform. So for example, you can find which user groups are like doing certain things and acting certain ways and figure out who those people are in the real world.
Yeah, so really see this as a starting point, step one. We're working on some other tools with this, as Josh mentioned, like with these high fidelity fields that are hyper specific to your application. We can do better modeling of customer LTV. We can help you figure out who's your archetypal user. We can help you figure out who you should market to, similar people that look like audiences. So yeah, a whole host of different applications of this. Yeah, I guess one thing we are like working with a couple design partners and looking to add one or two more. So if you have like an application with a bunch of users, you're trying to figure out who they are, or you have like even like a newsletter, right? And you have a bunch of followers, and you're trying to figure out like who's reading my Substack. Then feel free to scan a QR code and get in touch with us. Thank you.
I have time for one question. Thank you. Next is Molly.
All right. Hey everyone, I'm Molly. I got an operation done on my left arm today, so it's entirely numb. This is the first and only event that I'm participating in today. So super excited to be here at that and talk a little bit about Quotify. So how many of you guys have written a paper in, let's say, the last month? Okay, I'd say probably the majority of this room, right? Whether it's for Power or if you're a humanities major, like huge props for you being here. But yeah, essentially writing papers are super hard, especially for CS majors. And essentially how it works for me is that I ideate on the topic and I think, oh, I think a red balloon might be a cool motif to mention in Harry Potter, or, you know, Piggy's glasses might be a cool motif to look at in Lord of the Flies. And then once you go from there, it takes you a few hours to go through the PDF. And what you do is you do maybe Control Find on a PDF. And you find instances that say glasses or Piggy, but then quotes that don't actually mention those things that might have the same significance in your essay are never shown. And you go writing those essays without having the significance of those quotes. So essentially, I built Quotify to be able to mitigate that problem and generate meaningful quotes for you and an analysis based on just a PDF. So essentially, you can see a few examples here, and let's say Lord of the Flies, for example. And then the example I used was Piggy's glasses. The intention here is that you could really make it about anything. So for example, like if I wanted to put in Romeo and Juliet or some instance of Shakespeare and then ask what Shakespeare thought about environmental activism, that would be possible, right? Maybe not specific quotes from the text, but you would have instances that relate to that sort of idea in the text. And then in the meantime, while we wait for this, I made it open source. So basically we can see how it works. So what we do is we first parse the PDF into text, we slice the text, chunk it, and then perform a semantic search, just seeing which parts of those chunks relate to the query. And then a few different summarization techniques for the actual sort of GPT embeddings and analysis. So yeah, that's pretty much the extent, and you can check out some other things here. And okay, so here it came up with a few cool page numbers. So for example, it says, Piggy held in his hands and grabbed the glasses back, and we'll try. See, I lit it. So these are, somewhat smaller examples of quotes, still pretty relevant. And the coolest part is that it actually tracks what page number you found them on in the specific text, right? So if I wanted to see Lord of the Flies, oh gosh, I have one hand to type this. Okay, maybe it's not going to come up, but you can just look in the PDF and then find, that page that it came up, and then click for additional analysis. It tells you Piggy's glasses are a powerful symbol in the novel representing Ralph's power and authority. So it gives you kind of the rundown, how to think about it. Obviously, don't just use this. You should still be thinking about what you're writing, but I thought it was super cool because you could literally write anything about whatever text you want and generate meaningful quotes from it. So yeah, this really simplifies the writing process. So all you need is an idea. Yeah.
How do you determine whether or not the quote you found was actually in the book, or was it generated by them?
Yeah, so there are a few different techniques. So there's a few steps, right? The first is that we chunk the text and tokenize it. So when we're doing that, we're taking the most relevant parts of the text semantically that relate to the query. So in that sense, we're already getting quotes. And then we use prompt engineering to make sure that, I've literally said make sure to keep quotes from the text and not make anything up.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Next is David.
All right. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for coming. My name is David Yu, and along with Pensamento Sistémico, we built SLAPA. So before I explain what SLAPA is, I want to explain the rationale as to why we built it. So today, when you look at AI models, they fall short of human thinking for one pivotal reason. It's the fact that AI models today cannot continuously learn. So, for example, think about a baby, right? When a baby first learns how to speak, right, their muscles and their vocal cords will start to make sound. Their ears will listen to that sound. They'll take that feedback and continue to refine how they make their muscles move over time, right? And then once a baby learns how to speak, they then learn how to form words, form sentences, and then every day of your life, you continue to learn how to say new words that you previously never learned. For example, I'm pretty sure that today is the first day that you heard the word SLAPA. And that's how it is for most people every day, right? In the same way, AI doesn't exhibit that kind of quality today because when you train an AI model, you feed it a lot of data, it goes to its training set, and then you deploy it for production, which means that it goes to inference, right? And then now your data is never going to continuously refine the AI. It never learns how to teach itself, which is very different. Like, in what world do humans learn for the first 12 years and then suddenly they're completely static and they don't know how to do anything beyond the age of 13, right? So everything you learn is continuously refined every day. And so that is sort of the idea that led us to build SLAPA, which is we had this idea, what if we could demonstrate that AI models or agents could have a cognitive memory module that allows them to continuously take feedback over time and use that to continuously improve themselves. So SLAPA is sort of a proof of concept of that AI cognitive memory module. And SLAPA stands for Self-Learning Agent for Performing APIs. Essentially, we've created an API agent that teaches itself how to use an API. So let me demonstrate a quick video. I don't know if this will play. So yes, this is going to be a low frame rate here, I think because of Zoom. It seems like there's a low frame rate here. But essentially, you will be able to see that SLAPA is, you feed it a question. So you say, hey, give me examples of, five, I think in this example is like, can you show me 5 examples of white wines, right? And what SLAPA will do is first, it'll go onto Google. It'll search up where is there an API that has wine information. So it'll filter through those results. And then it'll take an API that it thinks is correct and go through the documentation of all of that data of that API. It will then feed that knowledge into its own embeddings, its own memory, and then it will form its own API call with that information. SLAPA will then take that information with the API call, make the API call, and see if it works. If it doesn't work, if you get an error, if the endpoint is wrong, if the information that they received is incorrect, then SLAPA will take that error information and continuously refine itself until it gets and make that call again, over and over and over again, until it receives the information that it's looking for. So I don't know if this video is playing for some reason, but if you go on to Twitter, you can see the video for yourself. But in any case, SLAPA is also sort of accumulative, which means that every API that you search for or that someone else searched for will continuously add to its body of knowledge, meaning that it's not only self-learning, but also aggregated as well. So SLAPA is sort of just a small piece of the bigger puzzle that we're building. If you're interested in building sort of the future of agent collaboration, please talk to me. But thank you.
One question. What's next? This is really impressive. Anyone haven't seen it yet? How do you heard about the video? Who's my mind?
Thank you. A lot is in store, I'll say. Some that I can't talk about yet. But if you want to know some details, talk to me afterwards. So. This is back. Everyone in math, for the past few months, have been working a lot on building video API for AI. A lot of these AI models that we have seen so far are built on text and images. So it's pretty hard to apply on your video at scale. And we started the use case for defense department, kind of like how do you index live on video quickly to get the results they need. And now we are trying to expand to different domain. How can we extract information from video in an interactive and responsive manner? So there are like about 3-4 API features that I want to demo here today. So first is just like, you have like this. So here, this example, the index, 15 minutes interview with the Prime Minister of Finland. If you want to find like some visual cues in the video, how would you do it? You do something like, find instances where President Zelensky with Prime Minister. And then we index it up and then show the exact time frames in this 15 minutes long video of the Prime Minister with President Zelensky together. Or maybe we want to find where the ferry boat appear in the video. We can do something like in Finland. And then the search will index in the right frame in this 15-minute video where ferry boat appears. And these can kind of be pretty helpful in other use cases. You want to find the instances where a player score a goal, you can type it in and index it. Kind of the second feature is like, there's a lot of information in the video, both from audio and from like the textual images. How do you get like the answer to your question quickly without listening to the entire video? So you can type in like, what happened in 1939 in Finland? And in the video, the Prime Minister explained a bit on what happened and why he's like concerned about it. So we can type it in here and then pick the QA options. And here, the result we just answered in 1939, Finland was invaded by Soviet Union, and this is actually the context of the entire interview. She's worried about Russia invading Finland again and how she would want to strengthen the alliance in NATO. And the last example is like, if you want to put in a query and generate a short form video that summarizes what you want to know from this 15-minute video, we built out this generate short form query function. So you can type in what are your thoughts on President Putin. Create shorts right here. Yep. I'll stop sharing here.
Yeah. Question. Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Bridget, and this is Liz. And we built a dynamic pricing model to begin with for restaurants, but it can also be like extrapolated out to basically any service-based business. And we also agreed to demo like 10 minutes ago, so bear with us. It's a little relevant. Yeah, so Bridget and I decided to build this a few weekends ago because we realized we had a few observations in common. So one is we both spent a decent amount working in restaurants as waitresses. And if anyone here has ever worked in a restaurant, one thing you'll realize is that a lot of your time is just sitting around doing absolutely nothing. And then it gets extremely busy during a few peak hours. And this is a really big problem for small business restaurants because they're already operating at a loss or breaking even or really slim margins, like 3 to 5%. And that can be the difference between staying open or unfortunately needing to close down. So that was one observation that we had. A second one is just, it's really expensive to eat in Palo Alto. And so all of our favorite restaurants that we wish we could frequent more, it's really expensive, especially if you're a student who doesn't have significant sources of income. And then the last thing that we were talking about is students eat at really weird hours, including us. So we were thinking, you know, what's one way that we could eat at our favorite restaurants, maybe at unconventional hours, but that are conventional for us, get a discount, and also bring more traffic into restaurants since we really enjoy the in-person dining experience. So we built, it's called Happy Hour. So this is our app demo. We basically built it like using the Google Places API to scrape like the busyness level of a certain restaurant. So we built it like sort of an Uber Eats type app where you can see like the current best deals and then recommendations for like what the app thinks you like. And then if you click on one of the restaurants, you can book it and then see like the level of percentage off. And then you can just go straight there and show them the QR code to sort of prove that you booked it. And also you can like share with your friends that you're going to eat there. And then you can also set like notifications. So like if a restaurant you really like drops below a certain threshold for like percentage off, you can get notified about that and then just like book it right away. So yeah, it's like the little bell is like the reminder. And then we have a tab for like your notifications and alerts. And then, okay, yeah, and then this tab is like just your upcoming reservations where you can see like what you've reserved based on like percentage off. So yeah, that's our demo.
That's our app.
Questions? Is it essentially a marketplace for the restaurants or partnership?
Yeah, so I mean, we just built this over the weekend. We haven't spoken to any restaurants, but the idea would be that restaurants could either set their own dynamic pricing discounts, or we pull directly from Google Places API, which supposedly has, I don't know how accurate the reports are on Google Places, but live busyness updates, so it could automatically adjust to demand.
It's like the blue bars on Google, where you can see like the live business looks. Yeah.
Thank you. Next is Anand and Soham.
Is that your laptop? Yeah, I think we have the stop share. Yes, sir. The stop share.
All right, what's up, everybody? My name is Anand. I'm joined by the lovely Soham Govinde, and we're co-founders at AdmitYogi. So I want to start by kind of just asking you guys, raise your hand if you apply to college. That should be everyone. There we go. Okay. Now, raise your hand if applying to college sucked. Like it was literally one of the most miserable experiences in your life. Totally horrible, ass, butt cheeks, whatever, you name it. That was college applications. Okay, there we go. So for a lot of people, applying to college is a deeply stressful process. The average high schooler will spend 130 hours working through their college applications alone, which is pretty ridiculous. And if you look on the market today, your two options are you one, work with a public counselor, even though like the average ratio of counselors to students is 1,001, or you pay several $1,000s for a pricey college consultant. What we're building out is a tool to help students level the playing field at a price that is significantly cheaper than college consultants. So we're building out a marketplace of successful college application materials. And our high level thinking is that there's like an older version of Soham out there who goes to Stanford, who studies CS, who had a lot of the same extracurriculars, but older Soham doesn't know his younger doppelganger exists, and younger Soham doesn't know older Soham exists. So fundamentally, it's a question of coordination. We built out as a marketplace. We have 5,000 applications and counting of successful application materials that got students into other students' various dream schools. We pay college students to share those materials with us, and college students pay us to access those materials. Since you all are a special crowd, we're actually offering today like a 24-hour thing where create an account with AdmitYogi, we'll pay you $20 up front, and you get 50% of all the sales on your profile. Use it while you can. So here's an example. This is Jasmine C. She's a Stanford 26er, wants to study political science, and you can read through her entire application. So I can see her application through the lens of admissions officers and see what school she impressed or maybe didn't impress. I get to read her essays, her personal statement, her activities, her honors and awards. I can get Q&As from her. If she had comments on her admissions officer notes, I can get all of that. Finally, the last thing we're building out at the moment, because like generative AI is the big thing now. You probably noticed how all the different businesses focused on generative AI. It's Erica, which is your personal college application assistant. You can ask Erica any question you have about the college application process. Erica will answer it, except you don't have to pay several $1,000s. You can pay maybe a few. And so, yeah, we're working on it. Questions?
Like no cost for students to know anything of it, that we need this more than students might have.
Yeah, so we offer for one access to free profiles for people just to kind of get samples and taste. And our goal is once we kind of get more of the financial wherewithal to support offering free profiles, we want to do that. We've worked with FGLI students at times to make sure this is an equitable resource for everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is, I think Andrew's here. Awesome.
Oh, wait, do I? Okay. Hi everyone, I'm Andrew. I'm a freshman at Stanford. So I built FilmForge in January, which is like an AI video generator, and you can put in a prompt and it'll make a video about it. But today I was on a plane from Denver, so I wanted to work on something while I was on a plane. So I built Teleprompter, which is like autocomplete for mid-journey prompts. So like the whole thing about AI art is like everyone's keeps secret about their prompts, prompt engineering, all that stuff. So I got a data set of about 100,000 different mid-journey prompts from Hugging Face. And then I trained an LSTM to generate novel prompts, or not really novel, but like prompts based on those data sets. So for instance, if you put in like Stanford University, it's really finicky because I built it in like 2 hours, but hopefully it works. It first uses the LSTM to generate out a basic prompt. And then I use GPT to take in that prompt and enhance it. So we started off with Stanford University. It has all this cinematic pose, realistic, intricate detail, that kind of stuff. And then, you know, it understands like Ivy colored walls, even though we're not on the Ivy League, red brick, redwood trees, rolling hills, collegiate architecture, all this stuff. And then I use the Leap API to generate an image of it. So that, although this is a stable diffusion because there's not a Midjourney, API. So it works a lot better with Midjourney since that was what it was trained on. So for example, here are some of the images I generated using Teleprompter. Oh, okay, I didn't realize it was lagging, my bad. But you can see they're really realistic. You get the reflections on the ground, water, things like that. And what I noticed was pretty interesting was using one of the prompts for generating a picture of the beach. So the original input was sandy beach with water. These images actually look quite similar to each other. It almost looks like they're from different angles. And I think that's because the more detailed your prompt is, the less underdetermined your instructions are, because the big thing is like, if you just put in beach, your 4 images for Midjourney are going to look very different, just depending on like stochasticity or whatever. But if you have all these details, it really constrains the possible like space of what the images can look like. And then here's one that I thought was really cool. This is a magical forest. So it's just a fungi thing. So does anyone have like a prompt they want to try this out on? Like 2 or 3 words? No?
Friends and family.
Friends and family? Okay. People, we all know people faces don't work too well with AI, but we'll see. Okay, so it kind of goes a little bit cyberpunk, but we can see what that kind of looks like.
While we're waiting, does anyone have a question?
There. And by the way, this is what the same Stanford University prompt looks like. So you get some really, geez, the lag, but you get some really cool visuals that you normally don't get with like base stable diffusion or DALL-E or even Midjourney. Okay, so I decided to just make one person, so not really a friend, or yeah, I mean, like. But yeah, okay, so yeah, I mean, cool thing is Midjourney is actually quite good at faces in my opinion, but yeah, so that's it, just an LSTM with GPT. Thanks.
Thank you. Next, Alex.
Hey everyone, my name's Alex, and I'm a senior studying CS right now. So I'm graduating soon. I'm going to be living in SF, so I need to look for housing. And I have a lot of friends too that also need to look for housing. And if you've ever looked for housing before with friends and roommates, it's really difficult seeing like what people want, what people need. And so that's why we built Hubble, which is a place to aggregate your housing needs and share it with your friends and do all that type of stuff. So basically, it's this glorified spreadsheet where you can create these groups. So one of them is like SF postgrad housing for me. And then I put in all this information about like a place I want to live at or an option. And all of that comes from our extension we built. So say I want to live in this like penthouse that I found on Airbnb. So I'll load up the extension for Hubble and we scrape all the text on that website. And then we can add it to our specific group. And then basically that just takes all the unstructured text, stores it in our database. And then once it gets put into the group, it takes all the columns that we've had there and uses GPT-3 to extract the relevant data and then fill in those cells in the dashboard. So like a Hubble, you can kind of see that the penthouse is being added, and its address, selling point, Trader Joe's, bathrooms, etc. is being filled in. And then if you kind of want to add like another column, you can do that too. So something is like, I don't know, a lot of people want to know like the square footage. So I can say like, what is the square footage of this place? And then this just goes ahead and backfills all of this data for all the other entries. So these are all the other places I've looked at. And so you can add your friends to these groups, and then hopefully you guys have a better time finding places and you don't have to aggregate everything into a Google spreadsheet and manually put in like how many bathrooms, bedrooms, and stuff's there. So yeah, thank you.
Any questions? Are you taking it on?
Oh, no. So this works on any data because we just scrape like the text from it. So if you want to go on like apartment hunt and find something there and scrape it, that works too. So yeah. And so we decided to replace. So that was like a big pain point because I think a lot of us have different websites. So there's like a lot of websites out there for finding houses. Mm-hmm. Yep. Okay. It is technically live right now, but we haven't really worked out all the bugs yet. But yeah, you can go and create an account on Hubble-theta-10.Vercel.app. So yeah.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Next is Brian.
Hi, I'm Brian. Yeah, so I'm really excited to show you guys Spatial, which is actually something I made for the ChatGPT hackathon this past Sunday. So raise your hand if you've built some sort of app on top of ChatGPT or any of the OpenAI APIs recently. Cool, it's a lot of you. And so Spatial is basically a visual prototyping tool that makes it like 10 times faster and easier to get your LLM apps off the ground. And the way it works is that instead of writing code, you basically have this canvas here and you have these blocks. The idea is that you can build up any arbitrary workflow you want just by like adding and composing these different blocks together. So as a quick example, I have a constant block here, has like my name and a message. I don't know if you guys can see that. And then I have a ChatGPT block here with like name, message, and then the prompt. And so this is like some templating. So you can basically just plop in variables as you want. And then you can see there's a connection between like some values and this ChatGPT completion. And if you run that, this is a bit finicky, but hopefully you're gonna get a response from ChatGPT. I think the API is taking some time, but you're eventually gonna see a response here. And if we go one step further, one common thing is that you want to do retrieval over some sort of external document. So for example, in Quotify, you needed a way to find the most relevant quotes in this really long document. So if you wanted to do that here, one really simple thing we could do is basically you start with a bunch of text here. I paste in this entire Wikipedia article of the Industrial Revolution. And then you can like connect it to a chunk block, which is going to divide this entire document into chunks. And then finally, with this embed block at the end, you can actually dump all those chunks into a vector database that you can then query over. So once you have that made, you can use this query block, which takes in a query, and you can see that we've hooked it up to the user's message right here. And that's going to return the most relevant sort of chunks out of this entire Wikipedia article. And then we can feed that back into the extra section of our ChatGPT prompt up here. And then we can easily use it in our prompt. So we can tell it like use extra to answer the question. And if we save that and run, okay. I'm not sure if it's working right now, but we asked like, when was the Industrial Revolution? You saved that. Yeah, sorry, the response is like super delayed. I'm not sure what's going on with the API, but yeah, there should be a response there. So that's basically it for Spatial. And the idea is that you can, once you have this thing, because it's a lot faster to prototype when you don't have to deal with like the front end and like printing out a bunch of stuff. The idea is that like you'll be able to go from this and deploy it as like an endpoint or as like a UI like Streamlit, and just use it in your apps however you want. Yeah, thanks. Yeah. So
will you continue working on this and launch this?
if you are building something with LLMs, you can talk to me afterwards.
And if enough of you talk to me, I'm at a keyboard.
Okay, cool. We've got 3 more next to Joe.
Okay, so hi everyone. Okay. Hi everyone, I'm Joe. I'm a Frosh here. Last quarter I demoed Friday, which was this like conversational wrapper around GPT-3, but then ChatGPT came out the next day. So I mean, like, not exactly something to continue working on. But the story behind this is there's no like fancy UI this time. We're having a Streamlit app. But earlier today, got locked out of a zip car, would not connect. Called roadside assistance and they quoted 40 minutes, but instead it took 3 hours, right? And so my friend and I were sitting there, we were kind of stressing because we both had paper drafts due. And I think it's just like natural instinct in pursuit of laziness to just like look at how we can automate essay generation to a degree beyond ChatGPT. So when you typically type in a prompt in ChatGPT, you're going to get like a response of like maybe 500, 600 words if you prompt it correctly. You go paragraph by paragraph, that's kind of annoying. If you want to bake in sources, it's not going to do the research for you. You're going to have to compile everything for it. So it'd be great if we could just have that all be done for you, right? And then that leads to another issue, right? Now there's people, right? There's that guy at Princeton, he made like GPT-0 or something, right? Plug that in, it's going to detect the ChatGPT content, right? So it'd be great if we had something that continuously ran and just avoided that detection, right? Like increases that complexity over and over again. So, you know, all those power essays, all those college essays, no more, right? So does someone want potentially a free essay, right? I'm not condoning academic dishonesty here, but if someone has a prompt, if not, I'll just like think of something. Free essay.
Friends and family.
Friends and family. Okay. Something like that would be an essay. Like
Fine dining.
Fine dining?
Fine dining.
Okay, let's just do the history of fine dining in California. Sure. All right, so we're going to generate an essay and automatically it starts like kicking off with developing a plan for the essay. That's just like how we're going to make something that's coherent at a longer length, right? So we're targeting about 1,800 words here. I mean, we could like totally go for something longer, but then it's just going to start generating a bunch of research topics. It's going to start researching. We're just like scraping the page, identifying what's like most relevant on the page, right? And we're just going to start injecting that in the prompt, like paragraph by paragraph, right? So you can see like the numbers indicate like what paragraph it's like it's pertaining to in the plan and whatnot. You can see that it's like going kind of deep, like California missionaries fine dining. But then you can see like the paragraphs actually start coming in here, right? And so you can see how it's like sourcing, it's like showing where it's getting the sources from. And what we're doing is we're continuously running the paragraphs through to make sure that they're actually being like rephrased in a word where like the perplexity is high enough. And then also we generate a works cited, but like that's kind of boring and like EasyBib did that like a few years ago. So I mean, not really too useful. But what I think is funniest is we're using GPT-0 to detect if it's being detected, and then we just continuously run it through in order to get it undetected. So right now, big loophole there, but this is how you get a free college paper. Not saying that I would ever submit this paper, but there we go. I don't know. It saves time. Thank you.
Questions? Oh, yeah. If there are questions.
Are you live?
I can like, I'll be live by the end of this. So I'll like put the links up there.
All right. Right. Next is David.
So the story for this one is last night I went on a really long rabbit hole journey down how could we make chat experiences better. So we all, two areas that I started exploring. One is how do you create more powerful chat experiences? So like instead of just getting text back, or just getting text back, how can we create visuals? So for example, when you're asking things like create a button to ChatGPT, you might actually want to see the button being created.
when you're coding. So it's like when I'm at work, I'm just like, I need to create a button or other element again. Can we create, more visuals on top of this? So here's a couple queries that I started here. You can also ask things like how to do math and have it be correct, because it generates JavaScript code and then executes on the front end in your browser. And then another query that I have is like, teach me how to do something, how to infinitely generate numbers using recursion, using React.js. And then the next area that I'm trying to explore is how to make this multiplayer. So I'm going to work on integrating like a live sync so multiple people can access the same window and like jam on different ideas in the same chat interface. Yeah, this is just something I found pretty neat, and I hope more people are going to build more multiplayer experiences and also generate some more novel chat interfaces soon. Thank you.
Any questions?
Yeah.
If you were to extend it to, so in this example, you're basically adding a custom UI for any time the chatbot uses a REPL as a tool. If you were to add more UIs and more custom tools that some of these chatbots know how to use, like which ones would you do next? Do you think would be interesting?
Yeah, I think the most interesting ones are probably around I've been doing some calendar stuff, so like providing just like UI components. I think another one I'm trying around with is once I get the like multiplayer working, I want to let other language models, like ask a language model, like let them talk to each other. Last night I also went down a little bit of rabbit hole of trying to get two language models to create a language, like talking to each other, create like a secret code. And that kind of went okay, but it was like maybe if I can give it more duration, so like have that actual environment for them to play with, like we can see what other interesting things that can be generated there. Yeah, thank you. Great question. All right, thank you guys.
Cool. All right, and I'm going to be last. I'm Varun. I just wanted to first thank everyone for coming out. This is phenomenal. And also, if you didn't present this time, we're going to do this again next quarter. So please come out. It's a lot of fun. We have hack days every Sunday. Just kind of hang out. If you're not in the group chat, you can come talk to any one of us. We'd be more than happy to add you. Would love to get you involved. But anyways, here's my demo. Who here has used Copilot? Okay, awesome. So even like the best programmers like Andre Karpathy, right? They're using Copilot, saving a ton of time. And I've been spending a lot of time thinking about what it actually means to build Copilots for other products, right? In particular, I think writing is really interesting. A lot of LLM products are coming out, and they're trying to basically complete your thought. And to me, that's just really weird. I don't want someone else touching my writing and writing more for me, right? Anyone who's tried to write an essay using ChatGPT quickly loses track of what the essay is actually talking about, right? So instead, I want to build something that actually iteratively improves your essay, right? So let's say, for example, you're Paul Graham, you're writing this essay, right? Let's just grab the first chunk here. And you can drag and drop it into Merlin, which by the way is live, Merlin editor.vercel.app. So if you want to play with it. And we're going to go ahead and select some text. Let's say I'm a little worried that these first 4 paragraphs aren't really doing the job that I want them to do. And I go ahead and hit analyze. It's going to take a second. But basically the idea is what I want an editor to do is not change the text. I want it to give me fixes that I could choose conditionally and also ask questions, right? So you can see the original text, you get a little summary. It gives you some improvements and asks you some questions. So I can go ahead and change this myself. Right? But here's the cool part. I can hit magic fix. I'm going to give it a second. It's going to take all the improvements and see if it can basically fix the essay up, because I think those are all very fair improvements. It's going to take a second here. Sweet. So it provides you a diff between what you wrote and what the AI wants you to edit. right? So you can go ahead and say, hey, those are actually pretty cool examples. And I think that fits with my essay. Go ahead and merge. Right. And it just automatically, iteratively fixes your essay. And ultimately, what I want to be able to do is see how we can basically make you a more powerful writer. So you can upload documents and it can like provide quotes similar to Quotify. So it automatically can insert those quotes when you ask it to improve. Thank you.
Or is it like to Grammarly? Grammarly has also like suggestions.
Yeah.
Kind of
Yeah. So Grammarly was a bit of an inspiration. And I think, you know, these are like a lot more powerful, right? So for example, if there's a part of the claim that you're making that doesn't have enough evidence, like you can actually try and find evidence. And also like fix small word related changes, right? So the idea is like, how can you use language models to basically build a more powerful book? Yeah.
So if you accept like a merge and then reanalyze the same section, then does it like continuously send updates, or will it say like, okay, this is good enough?
Yeah, so right now it'll continue to give you updates, but that's something that you can basically, playing with prompt, you can figure that out. Yeah, I built this in 2 days. I just want to show something different, something cool for staff demo day. Cool, thank you. Yeah, I think that concludes demo day. Do you guys have any announcements? Prizes. Yeah.
In like 2 or 3 minutes.
2 to 3 minutes. Okay, so we're going to give the judges a couple minutes to corroborate. There's the Google form with the feedback. So if you guys grabbed that earlier, feel free to fill it out and send feedback to people. Yeah, but apart from that, just hang out, stick around, stay tuned.
I'll put the link again for the hoodies. Got it? Right. Slide everyone's
Okay. All right, so our judges have decided their favorite projects, and then you ask them yes for their favorite awards. So we want to start off with Sophie representing friends and family. And you want to show what you're giving as a gift?
Sure. So I'm giving a tech book called Exhalation. And this goes to Liz and Bridget. I'm giving the Echo Dog to Candid.
I'm giving a copy of Build by Monique Fidel to Kevin New of Chord.
I have a light up 32-hour waterproof, sandproof, 100-grade gluten that I
Yeah, just some quick closing words. We're probably going to stick around here for like another 20 minutes, just hang out, catch up with people. Got QR codes up there, Twitter, Instagram, follow us. We're going to post events. Yes.
The sweatshirt form is only for people who
There we go. Again, if you have any questions about friends and family, come chat with one of us. Cool. Thank you.